What's up, guys? Welcome back to Articulate with Steve McJones, episode 101. How we doing? In fall of 2019, I started this podcast because I had just turned 21 and Dave Chappelle had just come out with a special called Sticks and Stones, and I was ripe with inspiration.
This is how I feel inside.
You ever get an idea that you know is a good idea, and you feel so strongly about it that you think it would change the world, and then the next day you wake up and the idea just doesn't have the same emotional hit? You don't feel as strongly about it. You still think it's a good idea, but the next day you're on to the next thing, and you're ready to move on, and you realize that some grandiose idea is too big for you to tackle. That's what hit me with Articulate. Everyone's always like, oh, we should start a podcast. It's kind of a meme now. But with Articulate, when it first came into being, the ether, I think I felt so strongly about it. Because when you turn 21, there's so many things that happen with your brain. Like, of course, the age of 20, of course, all ages are important, right? But when you turn 21, it starts out and you're in this new club of adults, and everyone's like, oh wow, welcome to the club. You can actually go out and drink with us, and you can pretty much do anything. I mean, anything that's legal for the most part, and you're legally allowed to. And it starts out as kind of the celebration, and then you realize it's kind of the same, and then things start hitting differently. Ideas become more intriguing. Some ideas become less intriguing, but the ones that your mind just opens up to grab on to new concepts and to different perspectives. I think there's something about 21 where you've gone through high school, you've either started college or been through college or taken another path. Whether that be a career, landscaping, dropping out. It's always a possibility. But when you do that, your initial years, that's 18 and then 19, you're still in your teens, you know what I mean? And then 20 comes around and you start to get nostalgic a little bit about being 18, which is so weird. It's 2 years before. Why are you nostalgic about that already? And then 21 comes around and you start to recognize patterns, and you want to figure it out. You want to figure everything out. You want to, and this is just based off of personal experience. I don't know if everybody's experienced this or not, but you want to live in an ideal world where you understand everything. And yet the more concepts that you feel like you understand, the further they expand beyond that. And they just keep expanding. And it's scary, but it's exciting. So when Dave Chappelle released that special, it had opened a new world of comedy mixed with philosophy for me. Say what you want about Dave Chappelle now, but that special hit right at the correct moment for me. And I knew that night that I had the idea for the podcast and the first one, and I had all these thoughts about his special and him as a person, that I needed to get it down. And writing it down has never been enough for me. Like, I enjoy writing. I love writing, actually. But who's going to read that? You know what I mean? Have you ever written something that you think is so profound or is so goofy or you think is funny, and then you try to tell somebody and they're like, why would I, especially if it's like more than a page, you know what I mean? Or more than a paragraph. At this point, the attention span of people is, and unless they're your close friends, it's kind of hard to attract any sort of cohesiveness with how they want to listen to you. But anyways, so that night, I was like, this is something I don't want to give up on. I don't want to wake up tomorrow and not do this. So 3 a.m., go to Walmart, financially invest myself into a microphone and create the freaking the introduction to Articulate, the most unprofessional Oh my God. And I was so like strong, like I'm going to smoke weed in this. I'm going to swear, but I'm also going to like, we're going to tackle, I'm going to have skits. We're going to, it's going to be a phenomenon. It's going to be so good. And, I think it's good to have ideas like that, especially when you're young. I think, yeah, I'm still young, and I still have ideas that are naively, extravagant. But looking back, it's already 2 years removed, right? And, being extravagant like that is, it's a dream, it's the dreamers. And you got to respect the dreamers because, if they have the drive to follow through with their dream, from what it seems like, from what I've heard is people can accomplish anything. So podcast didn't necessarily shape out like that, right? But it has become its own beast. It's become its own creature. And, I've enjoyed what it's become, really. So what I did to prepare for this episode is I took a look back at I couldn't review, of course, every guest that I've ever had on here, and every guest brings their own specific value to a podcast. Now, whether you find value in what they're saying or not, that's up to you. But I think that says something about me is, I haven't deleted any episodes for the most part. And I've enjoyed every single person who's come on and how excited they've been to come on and speak their piece. And so, I want to thank everybody who came out and did that. And I also wanted to kind of look back over the check-in episodes or the episodes that I did by myself because I went back and listened to all of those. And I think, again, this podcast, I need to stop saying again, that's for sure. You don't say again when you haven't said it before. I'm going to hang myself. So the podcast has become more is amalgamation a word? I'm going to look it up real quick. Yeah, the action, process, or result of combining or uniting. So it's become an amalgamation of me and the people I meet. And I think you are a product of the people that you meet in the world around you as well. So, of course, the episodes with people do show a little bit about me, but it's really been super interesting to take this trip back and listen to, oh my God, these messes of episodes. The first one being fucking meditation. I decided not to cover the first episode with Dave Chappelle because it's iconic. We don't need to go over that. But meditation and breaking the routine. It was a real experience that I had. Where I saw all the thoughts in my head and all the positives and the negatives and everything just mixing together and the negatives were winning. And what meditation really, in the end of the day, what meditation really helps you do is kind of take a step back and see those thoughts swirling around inside your mind. And to be able to detach from those, even, that's just the first part of the whole process. What I realized is you have this whole database of happy memories that'll make you laugh or make you smile or put you in a positive place. And you also have a database of every other single memory ever, whether it's negative or neutral. To get into the trippier part of the first experiences, I realized that like all of those happier memories kind of detached from the swirl within my mind, and they started, they slowly became part of a database around my heart as opposed to my mind. I think at this point in the podcast, I was very still trying to figure out what people liked to listen to. And I didn't figure that out until much, much later. I still haven't completely figured it out, as you can tell. But it was that excited nature of displaying or expressing a realization that I had just stumbled upon with meditation. And a little journey that I had with myself within meditation. And I released like a little fun episode to go with it, where it's like kind of a fake meditation, hypnosis episode. But it was a real experience that I had. And that was a big thing for me to actually try to tell people and hook people on that. And it was at the point in my life where I was very, very low. and you attach yourself to things when you're low, especially, luckily in this case, it was a good thing, meditation and breaking the routine. It's funny that I released that, and I later released an episode called The Elegance of the Routine. And I think The Elegance of the Routine, I think that's a terrible episode, but I was almost trying to convince myself that I liked the routine, where variety is a spice of life. You know what I mean? Like, so meditation and changing things up and breaking the routine was a concept that was I approached naively in that episode, but I think still holds up as an idea, and I enjoyed it. I mean, and this is still when I had a kind of a crappier mic, so a little hard to hear me ramble and bumble through and just try to express these things, but obviously for me, I loved it. It was, I was like, oh yeah, this is, again, this is something that I had I backed out on later in life. So coming back to that episode, I was like, wow, I'm so smart. It's not that I'm so smart, but it's like I should re-listen to these a lot, because you get so far away from the ideas that help you live and habits that you create to help yourself adapt. And yeah, and the next one being music and emotional attachment. I was really on some shit back then, and I think I wasn't a big fan of this episode just because it was me trying to convey my amazing music and emotional attachment. I don't know, and convey some sort of structure with that. I don't want to talk too much about it just because it's just another one that you can kind of pass into the ether. I'm still learning to talk and express myself, and it's even the same way with the juvie story. Is like, yeah, I got fucked up and did like a drunk history thing, and just it was a terror. I mean, I really did tell the story in depth, and I got it out. So people that are truly interested, if you can get past the rough parts, then you can understand how influential it was as an experience for me. But it is so cringy for me to go back and listen to, and trying to play up the drunk humor type of thing. And oh my god, which is a good thing that I'm cringing now, because it was just the thing that I do like about that episode is that when I get the story out, there is humor involved in it. And there was a guy at college that I didn't talk to that much. I was a friend of a friend, and he had listened to it and came up to me and was like, hey man, I listened to that juvie episode, and I didn't know you went through all that stuff, man. It's really intense. It was interesting to listen to and have you express how you felt about those things. And so that's why I know, that's one of the things that inspires me, but that's why I know that episode isn't that bad. While it may be cringy and weird and naive and, immature, it also did hit for some people. And honestly, getting that episode out hit for me. Like, I talked through some things that I had not talked about out loud in ages. So it was a good processing episode for sure. The next one, the shit sandwich metaphor, still holds true to this day. Every day you wake up and somebody's trying to feed you a goddamn shit sandwich, and you have to slap it away. You have to fight for your life not to eat this shit sandwich. It's terrible. It's called the shit sandwich theory. It's like you wake up in the morning and immediately, right off the bat, someone's like trying to feed you a shit sandwich. You just wake up and they're just like, all right, here you go, it's time. You're like, God, can I just get the morning, please? And they're like, you gotta eat it. And sometimes you fight it off. You slap it away. You get up, you work out, you kind of like put on some good music or whatever. You fight it, and it's nice, but it's always there. It's like somebody is just like, here, eat this. You have to eat it. And sometimes you take bites and you're just like, ugh, this is just bad. This is, ugh. But it's awful. And then the thing that sucks is, you're going to wake up the next day and there it is again, another goddamn shit sandwich just waiting for you. And, some days there isn't the shit sandwich, which is cool. Like, that's awesome. But, if your life is like are you supposed to appreciate the fact that you don't have to eat a shit sandwich today? Like, is that, I don't know. This is a really pessimistic point of view, and like, it's not for everybody like that. But I think a lot of the world is living in a shit sandwich. Like, there are a lot of negative people that are just kind of, they're just taking it. They like, it's not like they like it, but they're like, well, it's free. So it's like, those are the people that kind of, it's like giving up, it's like you feel bad and you want to stay in bed all day and you don't want to talk to anybody. And I think everybody feels that, but it's whether you fight against that or not. You fight this. Some people are like, ugh. And a lot of those times, they don't know how to deal with it, and they try to give you, they're like, here, take a bite of my shit sandwich. And they like put their problems on you. It's like, no. I have my own shit sandwich coming at me. I don't need yours too. And it's just like, you gotta, some days you gotta get your favorite food, and apparently that's what a lot of people think too, is like, dude, it gets better. Like, it definitely does. You get BLT sometimes. For me, it's like, you get chocolate mousse, and like, which is unfortunate because I really like chocolate mousse, but it's pretty close to a shit sandwich. But, there are days when you get that, but it's like, when the shit sandwich is constantly being fed to you, you're just like, God damn, I know there are days when I don't have to eat this and days when I get better shit, but like, I mean, still, that means you have to go your life eating shit sandwiches. Like, it's like, is it really worth it? Like, I mean, yeah, I like chocolate mousse a lot, but if I have to eat a shit sandwich every day to get one goddamn chocolate mousse, then like, I don't know, it's tough, it's rough. I was so right in in the metaphor. It's just like, I cannot, I like this episode a lot. Still learning to talk, but I articulated that concept very, very well. And again, another processing type of episode. And I think that a lot of people that feel the same way with depression or anxiety can understand where I was coming from with that. Funny thing about the shit sandwich metaphor is, I tried to go to therapy around that time. Surprisingly, I'm talking about problems on a fucking podcast. You should probably check out therapy. But I went, and it was just like free college therapy, and it's shitty therapy. I didn't stick with it. But the initial guy that I talked to, you were supposed to like submit what your problems were, and mine was like, I feel like I'm eating a shit sandwich every day. And it was just an older guy that was like subbing for the actual. He's like, yeah, I'm not gonna be a therapist, but I'm just kind of in for the day. And he like read that and just cracked up. He's like, you know what? I feel that too. It's yeah, that's real. But anyways, the next, so of course I'm eating a shit sandwich, and then the biggest shit sandwich of the world, COVID, comes around and slaps me in the face. And this is kind of when I think the quality of the podcast picked up a lot. Not only because I got a better microphone, but in Amid Livid COVID Frustrations, I was so angry but passionate, and I was excited and frustrated about everything that had been taken away from me. And it was funny. It's so real. It's right when COVID, we were, 3 weeks in when I recorded this. And listen to this clip from this. I find it hard, especially, like I said, in this time of like stunted growth, none of us can go out, none of us can learn anything. I mean, we're stuck at home trying to keep our lives going. Like, we can't even keep the economy going, let alone our brains, if we're just sitting at home. Even, we're going to be 2 more weeks in this bullshit? I don't know. That's the thing. I really don't know how we're going to do this. So I thought it was going to go on for like, we had no idea. I was 3 weeks in, and I was so like boxed up in my brother's single bedroom apartment. And I had no idea how much COVID was going to be. Dude, COVID is wild. But it's such a good episode. Like, I went back and listened to it, like, recently. Like, and so good. Like, maybe just for me, but I think I'm so removed from a lot of these episodes. Like, I can admit that some of these are shitty. Like, I feel better. I feel ... better / deal with it. Fuck that episode, yo. That episode fucking sucks. Don't listen to it ever. Again, half of these I should be canceled for. I don't know why nobody said anything, but it's fine. Uh, but amid livid COVID frustrations, it was real. It was a kid who had his life ripped out from under him, his potential life, not even. And that's the thing, is there's still a bit of naivete in that episode about, I say this thing, I say, when life comes at, or when you move out of your comfort zone or move out from wherever you know, and you move into a new place, growth has to happen. Growth is a thing that is inevitable. But when you stay in a place that you're comfortable with and you have to figure out how to grow. And I think that still holds true. It's very, very true. And yet, I did move out and I did get slapped in the face with growth. And it is not as exciting as I made it seem in that fucking podcast, dude. Like, I got fucking slapped, kicked, punched, thrown into a barrel roll, all dusty and dirt and mud, and the shit sandwich is just like every single day. I'm just taking it. I just ate it all, and it was just rolling around in the mud and fucking blood, dude. It was, that's how this past year has felt to me. I feel better now. Not a shit sandwich every day. Well, I get the shit sandwich in the morning, but then you kind of gotta work past the shit sandwich, especially Monday mornings. But we don't have to get into that. So yeah, I mean, Amid Livid COVID Frustrations, one of the best single episodes that I have released, and I think I did the job well in that episode. I Feel Better is the next one. Fuck that episode. I don't even want to talk about it. Double Negative, the one after that, when I was back in Athens. This is the totally not gay episode, and with me trying to express how cool and not gay I am without getting canceled, and yet still somehow managed to deserve to get canceled. It's me backpedaling on everything that I say. It's like a life update. I mean, there were some fun things that I talked about in there, but mostly it was mostly kind of bragging and saying, I don't know, just talking about being, it was nice because where I feel better was me trying to convince myself that I felt better. Double Negative was actually me feeling better, which unfortunately when I do that, I just brag about everything that's good in my life and feel like I'm creative and can actually put together a cohesive, don't ever listen to that one too. Same with, I Spawned in New Jersey. The thing about both of these episodes, and even I Feel Better, they're very specific with what happens in my life. And I think what I liked about Amid Livid COVID Frustrations, that's so hard to say, but I think what I liked about that one is there was a lot of relatability that could be applied outside of the specifics of the entire thing, with, plans getting canceled or things going astray outside of your control. There was a lot of that I really enjoyed. Whereas I Feel Better, Double Negative, Spawned in New Jersey, these are all very, very specific things that I talk about, and it's like, why do I care about this kid's life? It's me, and I don't care about what I was saying, like, fuck that guy. I'm in it for what he is feeling. I'm in it for the experiences that he had and how that relates to me. And I think a lot of those are just too specific and too detail oriented, and it's like I could go 2 times the speed on these and still not have the capacity to want to finish any of those. But I Spawned in New Jersey was, it was, I don't know what I was doing during this shit. That was when I lived with the crazy cat lady. If you don't know what that story is, I signed a contract with a lady, and I explain it well in the episode, but I don't. I try to tap around it, which is the other thing, is like, it's just a shitty situation that I lived with a shitty roommate and had to pay 2 rents for an entire year. It was bad. Terrible. And I Spawned in New Jersey is right at the height of that. And I am still so naively optimistic and still comparing everything to my life before COVID and kind of during college. I'm comparing everything to, well, at least I'm not, studying and like paying for it. And at least, it's just like, dude, like, yeah, you're living your life now. And I guess that's the only thing I had to compare it to. But I don't know. This is a lesson that I should have internalized. But basically, just because there are things that you think are good in your life compared to college doesn't mean they're fucking good. Jesus Christ. There were things that were so blaringly obviously just fucking wake up, bro. Like, that's about the same time that I did Finding Elegance in the Routine. It's like that's an essay to prove that this life isn't that bad, or it's because I was still riding the high from the big move and the big transition and the big job, and I was just like so excited about it. And I mean, it was a good time. And listen, like that's what I'll give this episode, is that I allowed myself to be high in that period. And I think you should allow yourself to be high, but I think you should also, I mean, maybe this is the stoicism that I've been kind of internalizing recently, but I think for the most part, you need to set realistic expectations and actually, acknowledge your thoughts through perspective. So what I mean by that is, say, Eckhart Tolle talks about this a little bit. When you're angry, you have to realize the thoughts that pop in your head are popping in your head through the emotion of anger. They're going through this screen of frustration and red passion. And so the thoughts that you have during that period, they are not necessarily valid because they're being tainted by whatever this screen is, right? And so in a situation where I felt like I was so worldly and mindful and everything, I didn't even take a look at what screen these thoughts were coming through. Because they're high thoughts, I just latched onto them, and they were amazing. And it felt so good to actually feel high as opposed to being depressed for my majority of my life, or majority of my aware life. I was thinking these things through a screen of new and bubbly, and I'm the shit, and I'm doing amazing things out here. And so even the bad shit, I'm just like, yeah, it's just gonna be like this, but at least it's not like, it's just like, dude, like, you gotta realize that life is not bright and shiny like that. I don't know. Fuck that episode too. You know what? Fuck that episode too. I tried to rationalize a positive view on traffic in that episode, and mortgages, bro. Fuck mortgages, dude. I still work for that company, and fuck mortgages. You know what I mean? Like, anyways, I just fucked that episode too. And then, but it started a fun period, because that's when I had a lot of time to work on the podcast, and I had YPQ on. And YPQ, that episode, again, I'm not trying to cover the episodes where I had people on, because there's so many, and so many influential ones, and they're all really good, of course. But that episode is the first time that I had put sounds into the editing. And that opened up a whole new entertainment style. And it takes a lot longer to edit now, but I think they're much more attention grabbing, I think. And it's a little flashy, it's a little cheap to use that, but I think they do, if you think about it that way. If I'm using it that way, then yes, but I think also it adds a little spice and a little bit of noise, and I don't know, it's just kind of fun. And for that YPQ episode, I was also one of those episodes where I had been brewing on a concept for a while about learning, and I was talking with somebody who really had no idea what they were getting into with it. It happened with the Dissecting Dreaming with Denning, where Denning kind of just came on and was just like a voice that I bounced these ideas off of. Same with YPQ, Mr. Quincy. Quincy, dude, I love you, man. And I'm so glad you let me come on and just like throw those ideas out to you. But it was a crucial point, a turning point, where I added sounds and made things more entertaining for me. It's funny, I literally say that naturally. It should be for the audience, but again, this podcast is solely for me. But yeah, and so what happened, and then the shit hit the fan with the roommate, and I realized this was a bad situation, I'd be paying 2 rent, the whole thing. And I took some time off, and I learned a lot, and I grew up. And I'm still naive and young, but that period was very crucial to take off. And I think you can immediately tell on the next check-in that I came back with a bang. It was fucking standing up again. This episode is the shit. I love this episode. Wagwan. Welcome back to Articulate with Steve McJones. We're back and better than ever, baby. A lot of shit has happened in the past few months that I've been gone. Started with the freaking what happened and the noises came back. It was so good. And freaking, I danced around the cat lady topic because I was still processing it. Still processing it today, by the way. But it was like I was able to convey some sort of sadness and some sort of realness with it. And still had this amazing story where I filled my car with kerosene. And those were real people that helped me, and it was just such a good story. I articulated my thoughts and ideas about the whole situation. There's a little thing that I do where I feel like people are listening regularly, and I try to be like, I'm sorry that I'm not coming out with episodes consistently, or sorry for the quality or whatever. Fuck that guy. I'm not doing that shit anymore. Nobody listens to this podcast besides like 3 people. I mean, there's a decent amount of people that you shouldn't listen to this podcast. Don't listen to the podcast. It's not a good podcast. I just did it. I came back, and it was exactly what I needed to bring me back into the consistency and to bring me back into why I did it. And my brother actually said, man, I enjoyed that episode. That was such a good episode. And because there was a story, but it was fun. It was fun to listen to, and it was fun to make. So yeah, that episode is the shit. And that was actually surprisingly like the last check-in. I mean, that was months ago. That was the beginning of summer. I've been through so much more since then, but it's the stuff I'm mostly going through now is emotional, and I think there is some relatability in that way, but I think I'm still processing a lot of the emotion, and I don't know how to make it relatable because I just come across as sad boy when I talk about it, which nobody wants to hear sad boy. I don't want to hear sad boy. If next year or episode 200, if I go back and listen through everything, it's like, fuck that guy, But I don't want to put people in their feels. I don't want to do that. I want this podcast to be something that you listen to when you miss me or when you need a little, I don't know what I want this podcast to be. It's become its own beast at this point, and the comics have all come on and spoken their piece and changed it in a way that I actually really enjoy. The entertainment value has gone up for sure. I did want to go through a couple of honorable mentions throughout the podcast so those were like check-in episodes, but I did a few episodes with just me that were more skit-based, or we'll just break it down. So there's this one that I came out, episode 50, original content with an original gangster. I fuck with this episode. It was episode 50. I wanted to make it a big deal. I made a poem. I made a short story. And that short story was real as fuck, if you ask me. Like, that was a short story based on my shady experience at the Kroger warehouse. And I fucked that story up, dude. I should stop swearing so much. But I am... It's funny. I'm allowing myself to get excited about these things that I'm proud of. And it's funny, I should look at it the way that I just said, where I should realize that they are coming from a screen of a bit of a high right now. I guess you could say that I'm on a bit of a high. It doesn't feel like a high. It doesn't feel as high as that other one did. Probably for the best, because we saw how that turned out. But yeah, anyways, the original content with an OG, that was just a story that was real, and it was well written, and it was great. I think you should check that one out. It's real short too. And then there's like a funny story at the back end of it, which was a weird story for sure. I say cunt in it, which is kind of fun if you ask me, but it's fine. Also around that time period, I did this Donnie Darko script reading, which isn't original content, but that took so long to record. That is such a cool thing. I don't know if you guys have ever listened to any other podcast that read a script, but I read the whole entire script. I edited that, and I pushed that out in a week, dude. I was like stressing about how quick I was trying to get that out. So I wanted to drop that one there. If you ever want to like listen to a movie, Donnie Darko script, it's out there for you. And I do voices, and it's fun, and it's a great movie. Don't let all that work go to waste. Another one during this time period, interview for Thread magazine with Hannah Pridemore. So technically this is with a person. However, I started out asking about her a little bit, but it was as people didn't understand it. She was interviewing me for her magazine, Thread. And I guess I didn't display that well enough, but she asked me, and it was a very good, reflective. It gives you a better idea of why I started the podcast and what the podcast was supposed to be about. It's kind of like this episode, but much better because she asked the questions and they were all on the spot and they came out so well for some reason. Like it was really good. And there's so many quotes that I think from that episode have a lot of meaning to me, and I think a lot of meaning to the people that probably listen to this podcast. I don't know. It's definitely a good one. Check that one out. And then why the pressure to improve? So this is the one, so this is much later after interview for Thread. Why the pressure to improve was one of the ones that I did when I first came back, and I wasn't being super consistent with podcasting, but I didn't know that many people, and I had to come up with concepts by myself, and I was in this place where I was depressed, but I was in Philly depressed, and I was feeling the energy, but I was feeling the energy of the city, but I was resisting it. And it does feel like there's pressure to keep up with the city, as opposed to in Ohio. I don't know. This is one of the bigger conflicts that I'm still dealing with. The conflict of how much time and effort do you want to put towards being productive versus how much do you give yourself for being productive? How much relaxation and credit do you give yourself for all the work that you put out? And so why the pressure to improve was I had been through that whole situation with the crazy cat lady. I had moved into Philly. I had been doing stand-up, and it was rough. Like, it was hard, and the job was getting intense, and it was just a lot going on. And so I was depressed, tired, but I was intaking a lot of good content. And I don't think you should, I don't know, if you want to listen to that episode, you could, and it would make you think. You'd probably need to pause it a few times, be like, what the fuck did he just say? Because I was kind of speeding through all these concepts and ideas, but I think that was the start of something that I really enjoy. I had created a concept, a theory of why I was depressed and why life has meaning. It was very philosophical, and I like that side of myself a lot. Anyways, I tried really hard with that episode. There was a lot in there, and I think that's why it's so confusing. I personally really enjoy it because I can follow it because I've seen everything and know what I'm talking about. But I can definitely understand if you don't have any clue what I'm trying to say, how it would come across as confusing. But really like that episode. So those are the mostly honorable mentions. And then an episode I did not too long ago, Ode to 2021. Just a quick 10-minute episode. I put that episode out and I listened to it for myself, probably 20 times. It's an encapsulation of what I had been through 2021. And there's a lot. I've been through quite a bit. And even the beginning of 2022. But that episode helped me take a step back and understand. Very artistic. Starts out with rhymes. And I like the kind of casual. It starts out with rhymes and then in prose, and then it's broken up into 3 acts, and it strays away from the rhyming towards the end and kind of becomes disparate and scattered and represented me very well, how I had gone through the year. And it inspired me. There was a little bit of hope at the end there. It ended very, very darkly and deeply, but there was just this little glimmer of hope. And that episode was a little pill that I needed to get me through all of January and February. And I started getting worse again at the end of February. But the warmth comes around and you realize it's the same thought pattern and ideas that you've been dealing with for the past 2 months, and you start to figure it out a little bit more. And things aren't perfect now, but they're not what they were, you know? And I think that's something to be appreciated, is a new thought pattern when it arrives. Another thing I learned was overthinking. I do it all the time. And when I would say, it's kind of the same way with that episode, I feel better. It's just like, all you have to say is, I feel better. You don't have to expand on why you feel better, or the concepts, or your anxieties about not feeling better, or the depression about how you felt when you weren't good. I've been writing letters, and it's like, you don't want to dwell on those things. Like, I was thinking too much about my emotions, and it's like, you just feel better. That's it. Like, you don't have to be any more or less than that. It doesn't have to be, I'm on my way to good. It doesn't have to be, I'm getting out of the shit. It's just, today I feel better. And that's it. Maturing and growing up is weird. That's all I'll say. Because I don't want to do it I don't want to get into overthinking and all that good stuff. But I am different. I feel less naive, but I felt that before, you know what I mean? So I think, best you can do is appreciate where you are. Appreciate when you're feeling better. When you're low, listen to a good podcast like Articulate, and maybe you'll relate to it, and maybe you'll feel better. So, yeah, I appreciate y'all for listening. 100 episodes, that ain't nothing, y'all. I'm going to pat myself a little bit on the back for that one. Podcasting, you got to stay consistent with it. You got to, this is me talking to myself. Keep doing it. Push it out quicker. Push it out once a week. Make it bigger. Make it better. Because it is your lifeline. This is who you are now. Whether people like it or not. You are freaking the man. That's one of the things from the shit sandwich metaphor. You get fed a shit sandwich. The only way to not eat the shit sandwich is to remember that you're the shit, dog. You put out 100 episodes of this shit. That's hype as shit, dude. Come on. 100 episodes. I am so fucking, they have kept you sane. You did it through COVID. Even when they were shitty episodes, you still did it. You've met all these people. You've had hundreds, not yet, but you will have hundreds of guests. You'll meet many people. People want to be on your podcast. You know what I mean? People like you, and people love you, and people, while they may not listen to the podcast every single episode, I wouldn't either, but you do. You enjoy it. They love being on it. Everybody loves their spotlight. You have a presence now. You exist because of this podcast, which isn't some sort of validation, but it's self-validation, which I think you need. And you deserve that. You deserve to feel that. So, good job. 100 episodes. Keep it up, dude. Fucking 200 is just down the line. When you're 200 episodes down, you're going to listen to this one and think how stupid you were. And you know what? That's absolutely fine, because life is like that. That means that's a good thing. That means you've changed. And I wish you could change quicker. I wish things were easier, but here you are. So fucking let's do it. I'm ready. 2022. I am 23 years old, about to turn 24 this summer. I'm living in Philadelphia, doing stand-up, getting these out, and I'm hype as shit. Rock climbing, are you kidding me? A V8? 6 months into rock? Get the fuck out of here, dude. Anyways, this is the part where I brag. This is the part where I make myself feel better, and everybody else can fuck off. So thank you all for listening. I probably rambled more. I'm doing it. I'm doing the thing where I comment and fuck me. So fuck you, and have a good week. Thank you. I love you. Amen. Okay, bye.